So we've reached the assigned hour of 7:30 p.m. So it is my pleasure to call to order the Thursday, January 19th, 2023 meeting of Bridgewater's Township Council. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on January 10th, 2023, with written notice and electronic notice provided to the Courier News and the Breeze, posting on the Township website and the bulletin board in the municipal building, and filed with the Township Clerk. Can we have an attendance roll call, please?
Councilman Trudilla?
Here.
Councilman Nogales?
Here.
Councilman Pedrosa? Here. Councilman Ray?
Good evening. Here.
Council President Kirk?
Yes, here. So everyone who's able, please rise. And I'll ask Councilman Norgales to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have minutes for approval. The December 19th regular session. Those were distributed previously. I believe there may have been some edits provided. Are there any incremental edits for our Township Clerk?
I'll move the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. I will not be voting because I was not at that meeting, but we can do a yay and nay, right? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. For the audience's awareness, we have circulated the written minutes for the October 3rd, November 10th, and December 19th closed sessions as well. We'll move on to number 5, Township Council reports. I'll go this time starting to my left with Councilman Pedrosa.
Thank you, sir. I attended the Martinsville Rescue Squad installation dinner this past weekend. It's always an honor to be present and to thank the many men and women who volunteered and serve our township in an important capacity. By the same token, I see a lot of law enforcement personnel out there. I just want to take this opportunity to share with them how much I appreciate everything they do for Bridgewater Township. So thank you, men and women that serve our town. Appreciate it. Also attended a video call with Bill Burr, our town engineer, who will give me an update on the township roads and the plan for the coming year. So I appreciate that. Very thorough presentation. I think that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Vice President Ray.
Thank you. Since our last council meeting, the planning board held the reorganization meeting. And in conjunction with that, we were scheduled to hear an application for a subdivision of property on Long Road and Washington Valley Road. However, it was determined that the applicant's notice to surrounding property owners was insufficient, and therefore we were not able to hear that, and it has been carried. The Board of Adjustment also earlier this week held their reorganization meeting, and along with that begun to hear an application regarding some signage in the township. That applicant was not heard in its entirety and will be carried. 2 upcoming land use applications, one coming before the planning board on January 24th is for M&M, which is the property on Route 202-206 north of the Green Old Grill. They are proposing a manufacturing facility there for an unknown tenant, and will be beginning their application before the planning board on the 24th. And then on February 7th, there is an application before the Board of Adjustment to tear down 4 office buildings on Route 22 and replace it with 2 warehouses. That is one of the 3 applications that was submitted for a warehouse in Bridgewater prior to the changes in our ordinance. And then lastly, met yesterday with RWJ Barnabas Health, who was the recipient of the contract for daytime ambulance service through SASA, which we'll be discussing further later on this evening. But that's my report.
Thank you. Councilman Nogales.
Thank you, Mr. President. I attended the Martinsville Rescue Squad annual installation dinner, which was held at the Bridgewater Manor. Mayor Mensch administered the oath of office. Also attending were Councilman Kirsch and Pedroso. It was a very, very robust group of highly dedicated volunteers. In fact, of their some 1,400 runs, many of their members participated in hundreds of those. It was a great effort. Participated in a meeting with Township Engineer Bill Burr, who we'll hear more from in a few minutes, to discuss the 2023 road program. I offered that while the road overlay / reconstruction program is vital to the township, we should not lose sight of the many situations where there is a really bad section of road embedded in a good one. And he promised to look into that in the future. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cordova.
I'd like to say that since our last meeting, I've been working on a open space parcel in the township, and I'm pleased to say that I've been in discussion with a group who has an interest in partnering with us on the property, and I believe that during the month of February, I'll have more of a detailed report to present to the governing body. I also attended the exciting presentation by Bill Burr on the status of the roads in the township, which I'm very pleased. We will be acting on that this evening. I think we all echo the sentiment that this is a commitment we all made to Bridgewater residents for the infrastructure improvements, and I think the success of it has a lot to do with the dedication that Bill has put into the program on the planning stages. And then on January 1st, it was my privilege to swear in the officers of the Findar Fire Department, and as Councilman Nogales mentioned, we are very blessed in this township to have volunteers who serve in our various rescue squads and in our fire departments, and anything we can do to support them and work with them, I truly do endorse. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So now I know the challenge of going last, because a lot of the things are already mentioned. So I'll principally cover new ground. On January 10th, I attended the Board of Education meeting. There was extensive conversation about the upcoming referendum, and I believe that night was when formal action was taken to set the district-wide, that would mean both Raritan and Bridgewater, referendum, which is on March 14th. I want to acknowledge that there are two Board of Education members in our audience, Lucy Lee and Jennifer Loughran, so welcome and thank you for being here. And I want to just mention to my colleagues as well as to members of the public that there is an ongoing education campaign or education effort so that there can be broad-based knowledge about the referendum. There are two questions, and I was asked by Board President Steve Singer to announce two particular events on February 21st. So, I guess that's just a little over a month away at 6 p.m. A community forum will be held at the Bridgewater Raritan High School. On the 24th, a couple days later, at 6 p.m., the Education Foundation of Bridgewater Raritan is doing an event at the Somerville Elks. So those who wish to obtain additional information about those two questions, those are certainly two opportunities. And I see Roman in our audience. I know he has publicized what's going on in at least one article so far. I was also at the Martinsville Rescue Squad installation dinner, certainly a great night. On January 15th, so that was this past Sunday, I had the honor of attending and also briefly speaking at the Christian Clergy Ministry Association 28th Ecumenical community service honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. There were 3 municipal speakers there, myself on behalf of Bridgewater, along with the mayors of Manville and Somerville. So it was an impactful event. I was pleased to represent our community there. On the 17th, so a couple nights ago, I briefly appeared before the Zoning Board of Adjustment simply to express my appreciation on behalf of all of us, on behalf of the mayor, on behalf of all of us, express our appreciation to what I believe is one of the hardest working boards in Somerset County. You know, I know Tim reported on some of the details of that meeting that evening. He happened to have a personal commitment, so that's why I went, came back to this room and simply expressed appreciation to our hardworking volunteers whose actions have a considerable impact on the face of Bridgewater moving forward. And then finally wanted to just mention that our Congressman Tom Kane is in temporary residence in this building. He was sworn into office, well, I guess after they finally chose a speaker is when he was sworn into office in the middle of the night a couple of weekends ago. But now that he is in office, I know his staff is working with the General Services Administration on a more permanent solution for where his district office will be, hopefully in or near Bridgewater. But in the short term, he is occupying a limited amount of space in our building. I think that's a source of great pride for us, for our community. There are 435 members of Congress, and one of them was working out of this very building during the day today. So, you know, it's I think a good relationship, and hopefully something we can point to with pride. And that is my report. And I will now turn, the mayor is not present at this meeting. I guess everyone sees that Mr. Pappas, our administrator, is appearing from his home. So I guess, Mike, do you have any items that qualify under mayor's report?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Sorry, neither the mayor nor I can be there. I'm recovering from an illness, and I'm glad I can be with you virtually. The mayor was happy to participate in the Martin Luther King Center celebration regarding the legacy of the late Dr. Martin Luther King. That took place last Friday, and I'm very happy to experience the enthusiasm and the interest that many of the young people demonstrated in the presentations that they had been working on for some time. Another event that will be coming up is on February the 5th. The Township will be hosting a Lunar New Year celebration. This will be taking place at the Senior Citizen Center. More details will be announced forthcoming. The extensive work that our Township engineer, Bill Burr, has undertaken has been referenced. I want to reiterate that on behalf of the administration, that the detail of what has been presented in the past and what's going to be presented tonight is monumental. We're fortunate on a weekly basis to meet with Mr. Burr, certainly his superior, Mr. Genova, the Director of Municipal Services, and Mr. Schimpf, representative from our Traffic Safety Unit of the police, to ensure that we have a fully coordinated effort in planning our home improvement program. So I'm, like you, anxious to hear his presentation tonight. And again, on behalf of the mayor, wanted to thank them for their efforts. The last comment is, again, the mayor was very happy, unhappy that he was not able to be there tonight to swear in the new member of our Township Police Department. We certainly all wish Officer Gatto all the best. Thank you for his service. That's all that I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we will now turn, we'll now turn to item number 7, oath of office for Thomas Gallo. So I believe that'll be a combination of our police department leadership, our township clerk, and myself. So, Chief, you're running the show for now.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the swearing in of Mr. Thomas Gallo. I'd I'd like to thank Mayor Matthew Mensch, along with council members, Council President Michael Kirsch, Council Vice President Tim Ring, Councilman Howard Nogales, Councilman Alan Cardilla, and Councilman Philippe Pedroza for allowing the police department to swear in a new officer tonight. Unfortunately, the mayor cannot be here tonight. Our township clerk, Linda Doyle, will be administering the oath of office. Mayor Mensch is a strong supporter of the police department, and he always likes to take part and speak at our new hire ceremonies as well as our promotion ceremonies. Thomas, the mayor, will be calling you to welcome you, so answer your phone from that unrecognized number that you're going to get, okay? All right, tonight we are here to recognize Thomas Gallo, who has successfully completed our police applicant process. Thomas started our process in June of 2022, where he successfully passed our PT test and moved on to and passed our written test in July. He then passed 2 rounds of oral interviews with the lieutenants and with the captains and the chief, and finally passed our background investigation. What I admire about Thomas is that he didn't wait for the Bridgewater Police Department to call him. He started to forge his own path to obtaining a police career by applying to and being accepted into the alternate route program of the Morris County Police Academy. Thomas started the academy the first week of January, where he's currently a police recruit. Once we swear him in, he will be a Bridgewater Township police recruit. A little background about Thomas: he was born and raised in Hawthorne, New Jersey, where he currently resides. Thomas attended Hawthorne High School, where he played baseball and several instruments in the band. He also attended Wilkes University, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. This is pretty cool. While in college, Thomas worked for the radio station WCCH, where he was the director of metal and rock. Up until recently, Thomas worked for the Franklin Lakes Police Department, where he was a per diem dispatcher. All Thomas's references, either his friends or current or retired police officers, they all related that he is very mature for his age, a hard worker, and has a good sense of community, which we look for in Bridgewater. Thomas is very mechanically inclined and likes to be outdoors, so you will be outdoors a lot starting soon. I guess at this point, we're going to call up Linda Doyle to administer the oath. You can bring up whoever you want.
I don't have any prepared remarks, so this is likely to be extremely brief. I simply want to say to Officer Gallo, welcome to the Bridgewater family. I hope that you're able to take this in for the accomplishment that it is. See that you have the full support of our council, the leadership of our police department, our mayor, though he's not here in person, certainly supports you, your future efforts, and candidly, those of the entire police department. You'll also see many members of many of your future colleagues are in the room, illustrating the support that we have for each other and the way that we try to run as effective a police department here in Bridgewater as possible. So congratulations, welcome to the family, welcome to the police department. And I think you'll close this out from this portion, or we may pose for some photos.
Yeah, I'll just close it out and then we'll close. All right, in closing, Thomas, I want to thank you for becoming part of the Bridgewater PD family. Your goals while working here are pretty simple, okay? It's to do your best every day for the Bridgewater community and for your fellow police officers, and then to go home to your loved ones every night. I leave you with a quote from the actor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson: "Be the type of person that when your feet touches the floor, the devil says, 'Oh no, he's up.'" I wish you health, success, and safety in your next 30 years as a Bridgewater Township police officer. Welcome aboard.
With the leadership, the council, and the officers. Howard, you want to stay up here? We'll take a quick picture. Shot with your family.
I'm just going to move this back. Actually.
Any other combinations? We want to have the other officers come for a picture? Want to bring the rest of the officers up for a quick one? Let's do that.
Camera.
Thanks again, I appreciate it.
Gentlemen, be safe.
Okay, so now is a good time. If you're interested in the remainder of our agenda, you're welcome to stay. If you're less interested in the remainder of our agenda, thank you for being here for the beginning portion.
Alan, we're out of here.
Okay, so we are going to transition now. I'm sorry, just want to acknowledge there are no proclamations tonight at number 8. Transition to number 9, William Burr, our engineer, with a road program update. I know it was mentioned earlier that individual and small group conversations have already occurred on this topic. So we are all well versed in this already, but certainly want to hear the full presentation, give the public the opportunity to hear it as well, and I'm sure, Bill, that some of your commentary will take into account, some questions and comments that have already come up in the last handful of days. Terrific. So, please, the floor is yours.
I like my plans, so to have a little bit of space here.
As long as you're not talking about sewers, you're welcome to spread.
Right, as long as we stay above the road surface, we're good.
That's very important here.
You stole my joke, Councilman, because I was going to say I'm here to present on roads, which is, everybody's favorite topic.
Pull the mic closer, Bill.
Yeah,
Pull it
Bill,
closer.
yes, make sure
Okay.
we hear you.
Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you, everyone, for having me tonight. Let me just get my paperwork spread out here. So I'm here, obviously, to give everyone an update on roads. I want to touch on two main topics. One is to give you a summary or an update of where we stand with the 2022 road program, and then also outline where we're at with our 2023 program. Before I dive into 2022, just want to step back in time a few years and update everybody on how we got to this point. And you'll all recall that at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, there was a commitment made by this body for a 5-year, and Councilman Cardillo alluded to that earlier, a 5-year road improvement program with an average investment of $8 million a year. So an extensive program over years past. It's hard to believe, but we're at the midway point, year 3 of that 5-year program. To this point, I think it's been very successful. And I'll outline, some of the successes that we've had and where we're headed moving forward. When we talk about the 2021 program, the 2022 program, you'll recall that we took a regional approach to crafting those road projects. We split the town into 6 geographic regions, and when I say regional approach, we dove down or we drilled down into a neighborhood process where we identified select roads in various neighborhoods, and we built road improvement packages in each of those regions around the town. And I think it's been very successful. It's led to some cost savings because we've bundled projects in close proximity to each other. And frankly, I think it's worked out very well. In order to craft or in order to come up with the roads that were included in the various packages, we leveraged a tool that we call now the Universal Road Assessment. And you've heard me talk about that in the past. That was an independent study that the township engaged at the end of 2020, whereby we had a consultant drive all roads in town, analyze the roads, and then assign them a numerical ranking based on their existing condition. That was done in November of 2020. It was also updated last summer. So when we talk about 2021 and 2022 road program, the November 2020 road assessment was the tool or the basis for how we developed those 2 years. When we move tonight into the 2023 program, we're now relying on updated data from this past summer. So we have updated information on the road conditions, helped us develop our 2023 road list. Anybody have any questions up until this point? I think that's all been well documented. So again, moving into year 3, when we first started this program, we had outlined that our goal over the 5-year period was to improve all of the what we call red roads and orange roads. Those were the roads that were the worst condition throughout town that required, in most cases, full reconstruction. The target or the goal was also to try to improve as many of the what we call the yellow roads, which are roads that were in some cases satisfactory, in other cases less than satisfactory. Our goal was to hit as many of those as possible, upwards of half. In total, we're trying to improve half of the roads in town. 250 to 300 roads is the target for the 5-year plan. After the first 2 years, I'm confident in saying that we're on track to hit the goal that was originally laid out. So far, so good.
Bill, excuse me, you use the term full reconstruction. For the public, they may not be aware of what that really means. If you could.
Sure, good point. So when we look at improving roads, generally, they fall into 3 different categories as far as what the repair process entails. For the very worst of the roads, more often than not, we talk about full reconstruction. And that's literally where you take up the entire existing road and you put a new road down, almost as if it's the first day that it was built. Those are for the very worst roads. There are a couple of different techniques that we can employ for cost savings, but generally they fall under full reconstruction. The roads that are somewhere in the middle, potholes, a little rough to ride on, but structurally the underlying base of the road is still in good shape, those generally fall into the category that we call mill and overlays, where generally you have a large milling machine that grinds up the top 2 inches of the road, lays down 2 new inches of fresh asphalt. Mill and overlays are generally the bulk of what we try to focus on, but because in this case there were so many roads that were in much poorer shape, we've had to employ more invasive techniques like the reconstruction. The third process is something that we call pavement preservation, and we've hinted on, or we've hit on that in the past as well. Once we get past reconstructing roads, once we get past milling and overlaying roads, the goal would be to try to preserve those roads. So it's a treatment that's very cost effective, seals the surface of the pavement, and allows for an extension of the useful life of the road. That's for roads that are already in pretty good shape, that are exhibiting a little bit of fatigue, a little bit of cracking, and the idea is to seal them, extend the life. So there's generally 3 different categories. Does that make sense?
And Bill, can I just share a comment,
Please.
a conversation that we had privately? Obviously everybody wants a pristine road that, has no flaws whatsoever. I think it's important to note pristine roads is not the goal of this program. It is fully functional and still attractive roads. The challenge is that, if you are on a street, and I know this was the case in my neighborhood, where we've gotten pavement preservation, it looks good,
Yep.
it maintains function, but you're not rolling a marble down down the street.
Right.
And I think we need to be careful to manage expectations, that our goal is roads that are functional and as attractive as possible, but roads will still have, cracks and other, other things in them. We're simply not in a position at any time, at least in the near future that I can see, to make pristine roads throughout the town.
If we had an unlimited budget, it would be great to rebuild every road from beginning to end. But you're absolutely right. That's not the reality. That's not generally the focus. We want safe roads. First and foremost, we want presentable roads, and we want roads that are going to be able to function, both for vehicular traffic, pedestrian traffic, bicyclists. We want the drainage to function. So when we take a look at all of our road candidates, there are any number of factors that go into how we choose which roads to improve. You heard me talk about the road assessment. That's a tool in the toolbox that we use to identify the worst roads, but that's not the only thing we do. We're constantly driving roads, constantly visiting roads. We have engineering has a database, DPW has a database, OCR has a database of constituent concerns that come in. We're investigating those, and we cobble everything together, use the best information that we have, and then using the regional approach, we build the neighborhood plan. But you're absolutely right, Councilman. It's difficult to make it perfect, but
Last quick comment, and then, definitely want you to proceed.
Yep.
The reality is, when we rebuild a road, we're certainly proud of that. We're certainly very happy about the new life for a road that we've just created, but the people on that street probably went through a heck of a lot of pain in
No doubt.
the years leading up to it. So, you know, we do that for those streets when they're at a point when those other items are just not a viable option anymore.
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Agreed.
please proceed.
Agreed. Yep. So that's a little bit of background about, you know, what has transpired since 2020. Looking back on last year, I think we had great successes. We had a plan last year that included about 57 roads. In total, we ended up completing about 45 of those roads. And you heard me talk about the regional approach. Last year, we actually had 7 road projects. We had the 6 that were part of our normal geographic region. We added a 7th plan or project last year that was in partnership unofficially with a project that New Jersey American Water undertook to replace water mains in a number of neighborhoods. And the idea behind that, also last year, the road opening permit application ordinance was updated. The idea with the partnership with the water company is that they filed permits to disturb our road and replace the water main. A condition of their water main work was to resurface the entire roadway. But above and beyond the paving of the roadway comes additional improvements that are necessary. Drainage, curbing, sidewalks. We put together a small project to improve sidewalks and drainage in those neighborhood roads in anticipation of the water company repaving. So I call it an unofficial partnership because they have a big role, we had a role, and at the end of the day, we're both improving the roadway so that you don't have patches running down the road or half roads being paved. We have brand new roadways. So that was the seventh project that I mentioned.
So sorry, Bill, just to clarify, would you say that with this road improvement project or program, as well as the changes made to the ordinance for opening roads, do we now have better coordination with the utility companies, whether it's the water company or the gas company digging up a road?
No, absolutely, Councilman. So the ordinance was revamped really with that goal in mind. It updates the standards and requirements that anybody that wants to touch our roads have to comply with, including utilities. But frankly, it's brought us to the table more often than not so we can work collaboratively together towards keeping our roads. Frankly, it protects our roads, but also, you know.
If you're gonna dig it up and overlay a 10-foot swath, then we should be looking at the road anyway.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I will tell you that both utilities, the water company and the gas company, PSE&G, more so PSE&G, has presented a robust plan to replace gas mains on many roads in the town. We've not nailed down the timing yet, but we're meeting with them actively to come up with a plan that works for both parties. They have to improve their aging infrastructure, but we don't want to do it at the risk of damaging our brand-new roads. So we're trying to do it in a sequential manner, in a manner that will allow us to improve the entire road in those neighborhoods and frankly benefit both parties. Yep.
Thank you.
I think so far it's working very well. I'll try to move this along, but back to 22. So 57 roads, about 45 were completed. Of the 7 road projects from 2022, 5 of them were complete. So when we talk about the region, starting in Area 1, that's generally the southeasterly portion of town in the Findern Ave area, that project from last year was finished. Area 2 is the southwesterly portion near Old York Town. That project has been finished. Area 3 moves up into the Country Club, Garrettson, Bridgewater High School area. That project was finished. Area 4 is the extreme northerly portion of town in the Sunset Lake area. That project was not finished. We completed improvements on Hamilton Lane, leading into the Hamilton School, but there were 4 roads in the Sunset Lake community, the south side of the lake. Work started, but had to be put on hold because of the winter weather. So that project will be finished in the springtime. Area 5 is moving down Washington Valley Road, really in the central part of the town. That project from last year was finished. And then Area 6 is the extreme easterly portion of town near Vossler Ave and Route 22. That project was not finished. Work has started. If you drive through there, you'll know that work has started. Two reasons that project was put on hold. One, because the winter weather closing in on us. December actually was quite cold, if you remember. We've had a reprieve the last few weeks, but it got too cold to work. And the roads in that region, we were approached at the end of last year by the gas company with an interest to try to come in and replace the gas mains on those roads. So we felt in the best interest of the residents, let's allow the gas company to come in, replace the gas mains. We'll come back in the springtime, finish our road project from last year and be done. So most of the work from last year is finished. We have some roads that have to be done, and I expect springtime, everything from 2022 will be buttoned up. Okay? Any questions about last year? No?
Just wanted to reiterate again for the benefit of everyone else, the conversation that we had. Plus or minus some deviations, plus or minus some unknowns for this current season. Bill, you had expressed agreement with my desired state for this project. We're roughly 2 years down, 3 years to go on a 5-year plan. With what we're talking about tonight, we'll be 3 years down, 2 years to go.
Correct.
And we had discussed, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we had discussed that plus or minus some deviation, yeah, we got about 40% done, a couple of loose ends here and there. With this project, with this list of projects, which we're starting to discuss now, I believe, earlier in the calendar than any of the previous 3 years. So that will now hopefully put us ahead of opportunities for 2023. As we're having this conversation in later 2023, it seems that we will now be at the 60% mark. So we are on target. We hit the 20, we hit the 40. With this plan, we should be on target for the 60, and then in the obviously intervening subsequent 2 years, we'll be able to bring this 5-year project to a close, and then hopefully in the future be focused on smaller projects, maintenance projects, and hopefully never hear the words orange and red roads again.
That's the idea. That I think is where we're headed. We're never going to be in a position where we don't have to spend money on our infrastructure. We have too many roads that are of varying age. You're always going to have to invest in keeping the roads up to date. But you're absolutely right. We're not going to have any roads that need full reconstruction, which is the most costly type of road improvement. You should not have any of those moving forward after this initial 5-year, as long as in the future the town continues to invest in maintaining its roads.
Well, I would hope that a lesson that collective community has learned is it's preventative maintenance.
Right.
And through preventative maintenance, we can prevent having to be in this state at any time in the future.
Agreed. Yep.
So it's clear, I mean, preventive maintenance extends the life of the road, but at some point, a road has a lifespan where it will have to be redone.
Yeah, Councilman, you're absolutely right. And I think preventative maintenance used loosely could mean a couple of different things. We could be talking about pavement preservation, which is the most cost-effective way of maintaining a road. You're certainly going to have to continue with a plan to mill and overlay roads, but the idea is to try to avoid us getting to the point where the roads have totally failed and we're investing big sums of money to rebuild the entire substructure of the road. If we can just focus on the top layer and just keeping them, but you're absolutely right. There's a lifespan to every road. So I think it's going to still be a combination, but the goal would be not to have to undertake the most expensive type of road improvement.
And right now, we're playing catch-up because we've never had a long-term road plan recently in this town until this project. So once we hopefully get ahead of this curve, it's a lot easier to do some of that more in-depth maintenance, if you will, or milling and paving.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Investing the amount of money that the town is investing over this 5-year program is absolutely giving it a jump start to getting as many of the roads in good shape as possible. So it's definitely helping.
Just to be fair to, previous councils and previous administrations, there has always been road construction.
Absolutely. Yep.
What is different about this plan, I believe, and you can confirm if I'm seeing it the right way, is the amount and the detail of this plan and the view over a 5-year period. So what we transitioned to a couple of years ago was making investments that were not necessarily part of a larger perspective, and not necessarily as much as arguably could have been invested. Now we are investing a more considerable sum through a coordinated plan. And that's what we've bought with the $40 million total investment, roughly $8 million per year.
I totally agree, and with the regional approach that we've talked about, instead of designing and putting out to bid and constructing one road at a time, we're packaging up 6, 8, 10 roads all in one neighborhood, designing them at one time, putting them out to bid at one time. There's no doubt it spurs more competitive bidding and has led to better bid prices for us and cost savings on that end, as well as some time savings as well. So absolutely. Yep.
Please proceed.
Sure. So I want to jump into the 2023 plan and where we're at this point. Council President, you mentioned that a lot of work has already been done on 2023's plan, hopefully to get the project kickstarted into engineering as soon as possible so that we can get into construction and not have projects languish and extend over into next year. Does everybody have a copy of a PowerPoint? Yes, perfect. I'm just going to walk you through the neighborhoods in each of the 6 regions.
Sorry, Bill, just for the public's benefit too, it's also on the screen.
I didn't see that. Thank you, Councilman. So I want to walk you through, Scott, are you controlling that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to walk you through the neighborhoods that we've identified as part of this year's plan to improve. I'm not going to get into specific detail on every single road. There may still be minor changes here or there depending on how the final price estimates come in, but this is generally, I think, comparable to last year. I'm confident that within reason, this is a plan that we can advance. So when we look at our neighborhoods in Area 1, and that is the area that I mentioned before in the Finder and Ave neighborhood, Scott, bring up that map there, if you would. So there we go. So a little tough to see on the screen, but if you can picture Finder and the area, the neighborhood that we're focusing on this year or recommending this year is the neighborhood of Fulton Ave and the surrounding streets off of Finder and in East Main Street. In 2 years prior, we've improved the neighborhood just east of here, which is on the right side of your PowerPoint. We've also, and you can see, I think in blue, have improved or will finish improving the springtime, the roads just west of here. So Fulton Ave is the remaining neighborhood on the south side of East Main, wedged in between the 2 prior years, that we recommend we focus our efforts this year. I think it's a road certainly based on our road rankings that justify improvement, and there's some safety improvements that we can also undertake in that neighborhood as well. So we're recommending that cluster of roads. When we look at Region 2, and that's moving further west in town on the other side of Raritan Borough, what you see on your screen is Old York Road on the bottom, Milltown Road on the left-hand side. The blue roads are the roads that have been improved in the last few years. So you can see the whole right side of that cluster of neighborhoods has been improved over the last several years. So this year, we want to continue moving west. We've identified the Hancock Ave neighborhood and 2 offshoot neighborhoods directly adjacent to the Hancock Ave and Duval Street neighborhood roads, and that's the package that we're proposing this year. The idea being moving into next year we can start to look at some of the roads on the west side of Milltown and then move north further up towards 202. So that's Region 2, our proposal. Region 3 starts to get a little bit more spread out. You could still see we're identifying roads that are in close proximity with each other. And on the screen, the bottom is Garrettson Road. On the right-hand bottom is the area of Bridgewater High School. And then running top to bottom, near the middle, is Country Club. So the last few years, we've improved a lot of the neighborhoods in that area: Stony Brook Drive, Rolling Knolls Way, Steeplechase. We've improved a lot of the neighborhoods in between Country Club and Route 287. So Dow Road, Garfield, all of those roads have been improved. So this year, we're recommending the Rolling Hills Road is currently in design. That area is right by Stony Brook. That is a project that received NJDOT funding. Moving just north of that, you have Foxcroft and Spring Valley that also received an NJDOT grant right before Thanksgiving. That was the biggest grant that we ever got in town. It's about $560,000 we got from the state to improve those roads. And they provide direct access to the Van Holten School. And then there's a few other roads as you continue to move north, Carleen and then Farmer Road. So we want to continue moving up just on the east side, or excuse me, the west side of Country Club, and trying to get as many of those neighborhoods taken care of as possible. So that's Region 3. Region 4, if you'd pan down, Scott. So Region 4, we're recommending that we continue the improvement around Sunset Lake. We have 4 of the streets, as I mentioned, already under construction from last year. Those will be completed in the springtime and they're shown in blue. We want to continue to finish the rest of the roads on the south side of the lake. And then there's another road, Peachtree, that is in very bad shape. We want to combine that with the Sunset Lake roads and get those all taken care of. Moving just across the street a little bit further to the east, if you move to your next sheet, is the Timberline. Actually, I'm out of sequence here, but go down one more, Scott. Is the Timberline Drive neighborhood. That's an area that's on a steep incline. A lot of complaints on the condition of that road. You can see the color on the screen. So Timberline, we recommend we improve as well. There are 2 other roads that are down off of Mine Road that we're recommending, and they have drainage issues. They were half finished by the gas company a few years ago. We want to finish those roads off well as well. So that's the Region 4 area. Region 5 is coming back down towards this area, just over 287 off of Woodlawn Ave, wedged in between Woodlawn and North Bridge Street. We want to try to improve that entire neighborhood, or as many of those streets as we can. And Somerset Ave, Highland Ave, Hillside, Prospect, Orchard, that whole cluster of roads we'd like to improve. And then moving a little bit down Foothill Road, there are 2 neighborhoods that the gas companies approached us about, wanting to replace the gas mains. That's Crestwood and that's Branch on the other side, and I think it's Edgewood. Edgewood. We have drainage issues in those neighborhoods. We have the gas company wanting to come in and put gas mains in. We'd like to follow them up shortly behind and improve those roads as well.
Bill, I don't want to lose momentum, but after we spoke over the weekend, I drove this area because, I kind of wanted to give it my own eye test. Again, not that I have any, we need to keep that door open.
Wells has got it.
Okay. Obviously, I trust your judgment. I trust, the road study and everything else. I want to get my own eyes on this. And these roads that are, I saw some that are yellow. I thought they were worse. That was just my own feeling. Yep. These roads, particularly the offshoots from Foothill, and I went into that other neighborhood that's west of, I guess that's North Bridge Street. Yeah. These roads need work.
Agreed. Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that the road assessment is a valuable tool. It's not the be-all, end-all, because you take a look at it and it gets you in the right direction, but you still have to use some judgment when you pick the roads, but
I didn't have any damage to my car,
good.
but
It's the
these
average.
roads need some work.
It's the average of the overall road. And part of the problem is you can have a part of the road that is beautiful green, because in the past we would repave segments of roads, and a part that's red and it averages out to be a yellow.
Well, to Councilman Norgalis's point earlier, you have stretches of road that are in very good shape, and there's just a pocket that is terrible. And we're gonna start taking a look at that moving forward. I would not want to improve a short stretch of road, or I wouldn't recommend we do it, on a road that we knew we were gonna invest in a year or two from now. But if we knew the rest of the road didn't qualify or didn't justify spending money on fixing it in the near future, we should start improving the short stretches as well. Definitely.
I don't want us to stop your progress.
Nope, almost there. So moving into Area 6, which I mentioned is in the far east side of the town. Last few years, if you can picture Vossler Avenue and Route 22, that whole cluster, a lot of roads in that area have been improved or will be finished early part of this year with being improved. So this year, we're recommending, based on some of the rankings and our assessment of the roads, there are a number of neighborhoods on the northerly part of that area along Washington Valley Road that we've identified. Eastbrook, April, Mayflower, Loft Drive, which is the townhouse development just above the Chimney Rock Park, and then Blazier Road neighborhood in the extreme northerly portion of town. We'd like to package together those neighborhoods and improve those as well. The last area in Region 6, on the south side of Route 22, the gas company has expressed an interest not only in replacing the mains that I mentioned on the roads that we're building right now, and those are the areas right above Route 22, Woodland Terrace, Middlebrook Road, Washington Ave, Vossler. They also want to replace the gas mains in the two neighborhoods just south of Route 22 on either side of Vossler Ave. So Shady Lane, Deerhead Lane on the east side, on the west side, Glen Road, Crest, Saratoga. So
What's their ballpark for the age of the gas main before they expect to replace it?
good question, Councilman. They have some gas main that dates back into the 50s and 60s. I don't know on each individual neighborhood what the age is off the top of my head, but that's exactly what they've done. They've worked with BPU to identify the neighborhoods that, either based on their age or based on the pipe material, qualifies as being in need of replacement. So I do know in talking to them, there are neighborhoods that are very old. Okay. That's generally it for 2023. Similar in size, similar in scope to 2022. We mentioned very briefly, my hope, my recommendation would be having this plan endorsed and allowing me to advance into the engineering stage of these projects, because the sooner we can get engineering done and these projects into construction, it helps us on a number of fronts, frankly. It improves the chances of the projects not extending over into the new year, which from my perspective isn't fair to the residents. Can also be dangerous. We do our best to keep an active construction job that's been shut down through the winter. We do our best to keep it safe, but it's not perfect. So if we get this year's program started earlier, we can eliminate that. If we can get the projects out to bid sooner, it also increases our chances of getting very competitive bid pricing. The longer we wait to get the projects out to bid, and in the past, once the funding has been in place, we've engineered our projects and we've got them out to bid, it's generally been July, August timeframe, which is right in the middle of the summer. Many of the contractors are already very busy, and what we see is the bid pricing starts to creep up. So to avoid that, another reason to get us out to bid earlier. Frankly, some of the other issues that we've had with our projects, long lead times on materials. If If we get these projects out to bid and awarded sooner, we have a better chance of being able to withstand the occasional long lead time. It doesn't jam us up at the end of the year. If something's delayed, we can still work our way around it. So, last point, really, cold weather paving. It's never good to be paving roads when it's cold. And in the past, in an effort to get our projects done, we've had to face that decision, and frankly, that's why this past year, 12 of our roads didn't get finished, because we had a cold stretch in December, and we made the decision not to jeopardize an inferior product. We'd rather wait till the springtime, pave them in the springtime. So if we can get our jobs going, I sound like a broken record, that would be my hope. That's all really that I have. I don't know if anybody has questions, anybody in the public, or...
I know you mentioned, obviously, we're talking conceptually about some neighborhoods and not necessarily, the specific roads might have some deviations in working with the utility companies and stuff. Safe to assume once the list of roads is finalized, that it will be updated on our bwroads.com website?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And our goal would be to get that list finalized as soon as possible.
Yep.
Because I need to have the road list
You can't start your work
firmed
without
up before the
finalizing
engineering
list. Got
starts.
it. I just want to reiterate to the public, though,
Absolutely.
that the roads discussed tonight are still subject to
Absolutely.
some change.
I feel very, assuming everybody agrees, I feel very good about the neighborhoods. We're still firming up our numbers to make sure that we can get all that work done within our budget. There may be a few casualties here and there, but we're not going to change neighborhoods unless I'm directed otherwise. That's the plan.
So the way I would like to continue to manage this is make sure that we clear any questions from the dais. The next item on the agenda is opening to the public, so hopefully you can stay.
Of course.
To the extent that there may be questions from the public related to this topic. So I guess, Mr. Ring, you already asked a question of Councilman Pedrosa. Any questions?
Yes. Are you looking for the council to take action tonight or at a future date?
I would like the council to endorse the concept of the plan that I laid out and authorize me that once we finalize the actual road list, authorize me to solicit proposals from our team of engineering consultants so that at a subsequent council meeting, I can present engineering proposals for potential award. So I'm not asking for an endorsement on the finances at this point, but the concept of the plan.
Well, let's talk about the finances. How much will this cost?
So the plan that we've laid out right now, the goal is the same price, the $8 million that's been approved the first 2 years of this plan is the same budget that I'm working with now. That's the goal.
Mr. Pop is still on?
Yes.
He is.
Can you hear me, Mr. Pappas?
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My mic isn't working, so I'm going to try to speak up. So we hear Mr. Burr presenting here a very detailed and thorough road plan, and he's done a very good job of presenting the information to this governing body. But as always, the road plan comes at a cost of $8 million. How does the administration plan to finance the road plan?
Well, that was can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
That was the part of the presentation that I would then make a request. The council, as part of Mr. Burr's presentation, he had prepared a memo that outlined a series of steps that would need to be followed in order to stay on track as he's outlined. And so what we would also, the administration also would request is that the council would consider introducing an $8 million bond ordinance at the next meeting, the February 2nd meeting, in order to move this process forward.
I'm sorry, maybe it's the sound, but I didn't really catch the answer. pay for it again? Can you make?
Well,
Bonding.
similar to what we've done in the past, there would be a bond ordinance that the governing body would have to approve, provide the funding for this program for this year.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I guess, state what I've probably said the past couple of years, and I'm gonna say it again, and that is that, $8 million is not chump change, and I understand that it's being bonded, but the bond has to be paid off. And so, I would like to see the road plan and the finances for the road plan as part of incorporated into the budget that the administration at some point will introduce to this governing body. So my question to you, Mr. Roberts, so that we can expedite the road issue, is there any possibility that the administration could produce its budget maybe earlier than later, simultaneously with this road plan, so that the overall finances and how it impacts our budget and ultimately our taxpayer, how that all comes into play, because they're all, they're all interconnected.
Certainly, Councilman, anything is possible, but I think and we are working diligently on creating a budget proposal that would be presented to the council. I think Mayor has made a commitment that that would be presented likely later than the early part of April, but likely meetings with the Finance Committee for that. We are working with the department heads to be able to prepare a budget that the administration is comfortable with and presenting to the council. I understand your perspective. The dilemma that we find, as Mr. Burr has outlined, is that if we were to wait until the budget adoption, 3 or 4 months passed, and it would preclude our ability to make substantive progress in 2023. Your perspective is understood. You certainly want to see what this plan would have to the overall budget impact, and the mayor understands that. And I think in the budget that we're crafting, we hope that we will demonstrate to the government that sensitivity.
I mean, I put, I'm not done. To make this sort of analogous and to kind of make sense to the average person, let's say, I'm managing my household and I'm looking to get a loan. And so the amount of that loan that I'm going to get, I'm going to consider how much of it I can pay off and how I'm going to pay it off. And I think that just, when we are considering to get a loan of such size, it's important to at the same time put that into the perspective of our budget, just like any other person would do, any other resident in Bridgewater would do if they're going to get a loan themselves. And since we're managing really the residents' money, I think that we would have an obligation to consider these things thoroughly. And I would like to have the budget to have it in perspective and consideration to the overall package, so I can really make a sound decision as to what's best for Bridgewater and our residents. Because the $8 million number could really be tweaked, I mean, maybe it could be lower or maybe it could be higher, I don't know, but without the budget, I can't really make that decision.
If I may, we hear all the talk about 8 million as if this is 8 million and we weren't doing anything before. We have historically spent anywhere from $4 to $6 million on roads. This is an incremental amount of $2 to $3 million. So, which we have been bonding for roads since the first day I was on the council, and we will need to do it into the future. But the road project, it's like a dance, because we have to identify the roads, we have to identify the engineering aspect that has to go into that road, whether it's an overlay, a full reconstruct, and then we have to go out and bid it and see what the market comes back with. So where we have an objective of saying we're going to spend, we intend or hope to spend 8 million, but even from year one, when we started this effort, we said, you know, there may be extraordinary times when we may not be able to spend $8 million. I hope that's not the case, because I feel we've made a commitment and we will want to live up to it. But we need to get moving on the project so that Bill's people can get the engineers cranked up so they can do their stuff, and then we can go out. And it's only after we get the bids back from the companies that are really going to do the job that we really know what we have. So it's not the case that we snap our fingers and say, all right, we know where we're going to spend the $8 million. We don't. For those individual streets, we don't know how, and then even that, there may be an easier job or a tougher job. But it's a dance. It's not maybe it's a Lindy or Foxtrot, I don't know, it's my era, okay. But there's a lot that has to happen, and we've got to move out on the first thing. So I, for one, having been involved in budgets for many years, know that you can't other than the objective umbrella of saying, well, we can spend up to $8 million, you don't know how you're going to spend it.
But I think we're... Councilman Orgalis, you and I sat on the budget finance committee together for several terms.
Yes, we did.
Right, but we, during that time period, with the exception of maybe last year, we were never asked to approve a road bond prior to having the budget. It was always part of the budget process.
And we were always behind the 8 ball because we waited too late in the year and we couldn't get stuff done.
And that's why we have a dozen roads that didn't get
And what we're trying to do is get ahead of this right now, as opposed to wait. Sure, we can wait till we get a budget and say, all right, we're going to have $8 million, and that will be April or May. Meanwhile, he hasn't been able to accomplish anything with getting his engineering done, and it'll be Labor Day before he gets done, and we'll be back in the same problem we faced year after year.
And in 2020, we did a road study, and a concept of a 5-year plan was rolled out to this group with an average spend of $8 million a year. And this council voted to endorse the concept of we're going to invest for 5 years, roughly $8 million a year. There's going to be some deviations in year one. I think we saw the numbers come in much less, that we added additional roads because, and things will happen. And we will have to, those will continue to happen. And while I understand Councilman Pedrosa's concerns, there are certain items when you start with a budget that are, I'll say, fixed. They're in there. Your debt payment is one of those. Your salary. There's certain costs that are built into your budget, and then you work around all the other different requests. And this governing body in 2020 made a commitment that we're going to have a fixed cost of $8 million a year in bonds built into the budget for 5 years of road improvements. So, to me, this is not a surprise. This is not something we haven't previously discussed. I don't know if you need a formal motion and vote from this council tonight to endorse your presentation. If you do, I'll be happy to make it, but I fully support what you've presented tonight.
Well, before we go there, let me give a bite at the apple to Councilman Cardillo with any questions.
In listening to the presentation this evening, I think we're talking about roads, great. But I think in 2023, we have the benefit of utility companies wanting to do work in neighborhoods and so forth. And I think my opinion is that's a bonus round for us. We're going to be able to commit, as we said, let's say $8 million. But I think with proper planning, that $8 million will probably give us somewhere 10, a little bit better than 10, maybe $11 million worth of road work if we did it by ourselves. So I think in sitting through the presentation this evening and, educating the public on what's going on, and, considering the fact that, there's the water company's going to be doing some work, not as much as the gas company. However, we've seen roads in the township where one half of the road is one color, the other side is the other half. Unfortunately, those roads were done when there was not a coordination of effort. And I think that, I believe, and I support the premise that we start the engineering work to find out what's it gonna cost us. You know, where's our cost going to be? Right now, we have a best guess as far as cost goes. But I agree with Councilman Norgalis. The longer we wait, the less progress we make. And I intend to voice my opinion that we should support Bill's efforts in trying to get this project started. And the details will fall into place once we have the engineering work done, once we get the bid work done and so forth. And I'd like to be in a good position with it this year to take advantage of the coordinating with the gas company.
So let me summarize where I think we are and where I think there is consensus, if I may.
I'll give it a thumbs up.
All right, so this is where I think that we are. We are not authorizing $8 million to spend tonight, but I think that you are looking for us to conceptually agree or reiterate that we did make a 5-year, $40 million commitment. This is now year 3, so we'd be at 8, 16, now 24 of the 40. And I know Council Vice President Ring and I are this year's Budget Finance Committee. Though I obviously have not seen a budget yet, I am highly confident that we will both be able to deliver a fiscally sound and prudent budget and also afford this $8 million. Obviously, it's still a process that will need to unfold, but I am satisfied that we can and should start down this pathway. There still are several opportunities for us to tap the brakes if we have to, for us to scale back if we either need to or want to. But you know, I'm satisfied that starting down the pathway with these projects makes sense. It sounds like there is agreement from my right side. So there's 1, 2, 3. I believe, without putting words in his mouth, there is a similar consensus from Council Vice President Ring. It sounds like Councilman Pedroso, you may be there, you're not quite there.
I like to speak for myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, are you not quite there? Are you interested in seeing more data before making that commitment?
I don't have a problem with, quote, the road plan. I support fixing our roads in Bridgewater Township. I think it's an important issue. So I want to make that clear. However, when we spend $8 million of taxpayer money, we have to know what is the financial condition and status of our township. And right now, I don't know. I don't have a budget. I don't know what the year is going to look like. I don't know if it's going to be a good year or a bad year or what it's going to be. I just don't know. And then, you know, I'm being asked to approve spending $8 million in the dark just because in 2020, there was this conceptual agreement that we are going to maybe spend $8 million a year. Wait 1 second, no, I'm not done. And as I said back then, as I said every year since then, my decision to spend $8 million every year depends on current conditions. I said it last year, I said it 2 years ago. I don't think that just because, you know, I understand we have an agreement and our goal is to spend $8 million per year, but it shouldn't be like we have to spend $8 million per year. And I think the responsible thing to do is to know where we stand financially as a township. But right now we don't have that data. That's all I'm saying. So.
And that's understandable. I do object to one of the comments that you made. We are not spending any money tonight. We are not spending money in the dark. We are expressing the will of this council with opportunities to tap the brakes if we need to. Do we want to proceed with this or a very similar plan? And it sounds like there is consensus on the dais to do that.
Okay.
Any last comments?
Bill, thank you for a very professional presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so what I would like to do is
Mr. President, if I may,
Yes.
excuse me, I just wanted to reiterate my request on behalf of the administration that the administration is requesting that for the next meeting, if it was possible, from our attorney's perspective, Mr. Drakewitz, is to have a bond ordinance to be introduced at the next council meeting. Again, that would be presented for the council's consideration.
can I make a suggestion then that between now and the next meeting, that we have a separate conversation with Council Vice President Ring and myself and the administration, because clearly, you know, that is part of the overall budget. So since we are the budget subcommittee, if we could first have a meeting to discuss that and
Of course.
make sure that our input can be heard, and then we can consider next steps from there.
Okay, sure, thank you, will do.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to suggest, Bill, if you could still stay, I don't know if there's going to be questions from the public on this topic, but it's certainly possible. I will take a motion at agenda item number 10 to open the meeting to the public.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Okay,
second
I think I've heard a move in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
it. Aye.
Okay, thank you, and none are opposed. So we are open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address this council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there are unusual circumstances. Would ask that anybody who is interested in speaking come to the podium and clearly provide your name and address for the record, and then state your question, comment, or concern. And if it's about roads, then Bill's here to answer it, and if it's about something else, then it's about
Do we want to
something
start
else.
with roads for Bill's sake?
Well, so I guess all I'll do is first bite at the apples. Are anyone interested in talking about roads? Because that's certainly been our focus so far.
Hello, my name is George Bateman, 94 Catherine Lane, Bridgewater. A few short questions for Bill. It sounds like this is a 5-year plan, but we allocate the money basically on a yearly basis. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. Like, say for years 6 to 10, what do you think the average cost for the road plans would be?
Well, I think it would be very safe to assume that after the 5-year, $8 million per year investment, you could fall back on something that is more in line with what the previous expenditures were. I think that would be safe. I haven't looked that far out. My focus has been on the 5-year plan, but certainly something much less than the 8-year or the $8 million per year would.
Right.
Our crystal ball isn't polished up
Sure.
at that point.
But I
Also have to consider inflation. I doubt we'll ever go back.
yeah.
I mean, because if you look at 5 million from 5 years ago versus what 5 million will be 5 years from now,
You're-
I doubt we're ever going to go back to the previous.
You're not going to get as much bang for your buck for $5 million like you would 5 years. Yes, correct.
And the way fuel's a big cost of, right?
Oh, absolutely. And right,
The way fuel fluctuates from year to year.
that's another reason why I asked at least moving the process forward through the planning phase, because right now the fuel price index is the same, give or take, as it was this time last year. But what we saw last year was that spike to record high levels right around the time we were putting our projects out to bid. And I'd like to avoid that if possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know, but prices could go up further in the next 5 years.
They could.
So we could be getting a deal.
Yeah.
I've listened to everybody's points, and everyone's points are well taken. So thank you, everybody, for speaking up on the subject. But I do have one more question. I noticed that Somerville's having a lot of problems with speed limits. And I did notice that they have these, you can see them on Grove Street. They have like strips. There's like a sequence of maybe 5 strips, and they slow the traffic down. And they're not like bumps where you would jump out of your seat.
Right.
But they are enough to like slow you down a little bit. And I was wondering if the engineering might think about incorporating them in the roads as they are new in certain locations, because newer roads do tend to make people go faster. So it is a concern, speed limits, and so they might become useful. And having them done and when the road's built could be the easiest way to do it.
It's certainly something that we'd be open to looking at. In fact, we briefly discussed that right before the holidays, taking a look at some of the roads in Somerville. They're like little rumble strips.
Right.
Exactly, and they just get your attention. It's not like the conventional traffic control speed humps or something that really has a jarring effect, but you're absolutely right. The process of improving roads generally starts with people complaining about the condition of the road. After we improve and resurface the road, then the complaints tend to be people speeding on the roads.
Right.
So in the past, it has not been the policy of the township to install traffic calming devices that impact either vertically or horizontally the road. There's pros and cons with that, but something you're suggesting, I think it warrants consideration.
So the answer is
Absolutely, we could
under
look at it.
consideration.
We could look at it.
And obviously also bearing in mind how that impacts the life of the road, salting, plowing, and everything else. So sounds like that's under consideration.
Good point. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on roads so that we can get Bill home to his family, if there aren't? Sounds like, Bill, you're off to your family, even though it's a little late in the evening. We are still open to the public, though, if there's any alternate topic that anyone wants to address. Yes, please, you can pull the microphone down, make sure we clearly get your name and address.
Good evening, Lisa Tarzia, 22 Spruce Lane, Belmead, Somerset County. I'm here to speak about something other than roads. Although it does involve accidents on the roadways. I'm an administrator from Friends of Animals United, New Jersey, New York, and we are an all-volunteer organization that advocates for non-human species and the environment. And it was brought to our attention about the current deer hunting that's taking place in Duke Island Park. And I know that that is a county park, but I was hoping what we're trying to do is gain support of the municipalities within the county to support non-lethal deer population methods. Animal Protection League New Jersey offers brief presentations covering these non-lethal deer population non-cruel methods. And for every issue that you can think about that is a problem, conceived as a problem or an inconvenience, there is a non-lethal remedy. And I think that as a society, we need to start addressing our attitudes towards non-human species. And so I'm just here to briefly be the voice of the deer this evening. And if I may, I'd like to please leave my card with my contact email information. If you are interested in a brief presentation by the experts on wildlife, our friends at Animal Protection League New Jersey, they can address any concerns that you might have in supporting non-lethal deer population control methods within the towns and municipalities and within our county. So,
May I just suggest this, if you do have a card,
yes, I do.
definitely make sure that Ms. Doyle gets it.
Yes.
If you do have any, I don't know if you have a card with your contact information? All right, well, I can offer mine.
Okay.
If you have any material, any presentation that you would like distributed, I will get that to Ms. Doyle, and she will distribute it. Oh, all right, so, okay, great.
Okay. Well, I would like to, thank you. I would like to leave that up to our friends at Animal Protection League. They would supply any paraphernalia and answer any of your concerns.
The way I would like to handle it is, so you have Scott's information. He's in our Office of Constituent Relations. but he also supports the work that we do. So if there is any presentation or material or statement that you would like to be seen by us, that if you get that to Scott, Scott will get it to Linda, Linda distributes information to us. Likewise, if you can leave your contact information with Linda,
Yes.
that gives us a way of getting back in touch with you.
Thank you for your consideration.
You know, if there is any interest, we'll funnel it through Linda and be back in touch with you.
I would just like to add that these what are considered culling efforts that are habitually, repeated year after year, they're clearly not working. The non-lethal methods have been proven to work much better. And in closing, I would just like to be the voice for the deer, just as the Lorax was the voice for the trees. Deer are sentient, intelligent creatures. They're very gentle. They're herbivores. They form very close relationships with members of their community, their herd. They're very nurturing, loving parents. They are capable of joy and pain and suffering, just as our companion animals, cats and dogs. They nurture and love their young. They're very supportive. 3 more. They play. They're capable of play just like our children. These are beautiful, gentle beings. We need to start looking at them as friends, sentient creatures that deserve to thrive and love and live. And these non-lethal methods really do work. Thank you.
We'll just make sure to get your card before you leave. While we're handling that, anyone else wish to address the governing body?
Hello, good evening. Nicholas Huss, 14 Overbrook Road, Somerset, New Jersey. I'm just following up with Ms. Tarzia's lovely summary here. Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm here today to speak up on behalf of the innocent sentient deer that are being needlessly killed right now in Duke Island Park. From the months of December, January, and February, hunting is set to take place when it doesn't have to. Over a dozen of my friends have personally called in to Thomas Genova, who is the Director of Municipal Services. I'm sure many more folks have called in across the state sharing the same concern as the rest of us. Deer do not want to die just like us. They feel pain just like us. They have families just like us. When it comes to sentience, they feel all the same things just like us. There is no humane way to kill someone that does not want to die. There is no right way to do the wrong thing. In order to measure any social injustice, we must first put ourselves in the shoes of the oppressed, and then ask ourselves, would we want what we do to them done to us? If you would not want to be hunted down just for being born into the wrong body, then why do it to them? Why kill when you don't have to? Why take a life when you know someone out there is going to be missing that life? Just like we have friends and families to go home to, the deer also have friends and families to go home to. We are likely to be missed when we do not come home one day. Well, the deer are likely to be missed one day when they do not come home. A lot of sorrow, heartbreak, and unnecessary death can be avoided, which is the reason on why I'm here today. I spoke with a great friend of mine named Doreen Fraga from the Animal Protection League, who has informed me that the progressive city, town of Bridgewater has yet to meet them regarding non-lethal deterrence. I am asking today that we set something up behind the scenes for a Zoom Skype meeting to take place in which the mayor and council can hear Animal Protection League on all the alternatives that apply to the habitat called Duke Island Park. Obviously, not everything is going to be applicable to your particular circumstance, but I most certainly know a lot of it will. We have worked with many towns throughout the entire state of New Jersey to keep needless deaths from occurring. It's a win-win for both parties because I'm sure there is a way in which we can save hard-earned tax dollars from being spent as well. So what do you say? Can we set something up? Can I pass Doreen's information along so we can get the ball rolling on this? Unfortunately for these deer, the clock is ticking, and all I'm trying to do is spare some lives. So please, will you help me help the deer? Thank you.
We'll take your information. For clarity, though, the culling program that you're talking about is not administered by or in any way controlled by the Township of Bridgewater.
Or on township property.
Or on
County
township
Park is a
property.
county
So,
park.
we will certainly, take your contact information, review any information you provide. But if it is a county program, it feels like your better bet is to take your concern to the commissioners, to the Board of Commissioners.
Sure, that's next week. I plan on it, but it definitely helps to have it from a bottom-up approach, where we have like city officials backing behind this, so county officials are more likely to take things serious. You know, like when I spoke with Mr. Genova on the phone, he listened, he was very respectful, no problem there, but he didn't take the matter serious. So it needs to be escalated to the top, right, to mayor and council, which is what I'm here today. Mayor and council has a say in what county does. If I just...
We do not.
We do not have a say in what the county does.
The county is, there's a 5-member board of commissioners that are elected by the full population of Somerset County. I believe you said you live in Somerset, I guess Franklin
Yes.
Township. They are your elected officials. You have this concern. If others for this issue have this concern, I would say going to their meeting and or advising them ahead of time of your concern is your best bet.
Okay. Do you back what my colleague and I are saying here tonight in regards to calling the deer as that being a bad idea?
I don't necessarily have enough information to say one way or the other. What I would like to do is take your contact information.
Sure.
We have the previous speaker's contact information. If there is material you'd like us to review, please send it. And if we have questions, we'll be in touch.
Sure thing. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Can I...
Yep, so there's his contact information, and if you can make sure that we have a way of getting in touch with you, if you have a card, or you want to come and provide Ms. Doyle with your contact information.
Can I fill something out right here and just pass it along?
If you have a pen, okay, we'll handle it that way.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other members of the public?
Good evening, Kathy Franco, 766 Weemac Road. Couple of things. One, I have a question about the benefits. When I added together 13E, F, and M, I come up with $8,090,800 for the cost of benefits. And just guesstimating about 200 employees, that would be about $40,454 per employee. So I was wondering what the amount employees contribute. I know personally, for my health benefits, I contribute $927 a month for my husband's health insurance out of, what's probably about $2,100 insurance. So is that a question that you as councilmen are even asking as you look to vote on this? And I just guesstimated the number of employees. I don't know how many there are. There may be.
Larger.
There is? Okay. Well, how much larger? Because I can do the quick math. Is it 300?
It's a combination of employees. There are also certain retirees that are in that population. I don't know if Mr. Pappas
If I may, there's a scale for active employees. I don't have the scale with me, but we certainly can provide that. It depends upon the salary level. Those that are at a higher salary level, they are charged a greater dollar amount, a higher percentage than people at lower levels. But I certainly can provide that to you.
Okay. If I send you my contact information, would you be able to share that with me?
I know, I have your contact information.
Okay. Thank you.
It's formula.
I'm sure you do.
It's formula driven.
Okay.
Based on salary.
Okay.
And it is, again, I don't know.
Right. Well, and my concern is, what.
We can follow up. The population is larger than 200.
Yeah. Well, and what's the, I just want to be sure that there's questions being asked by these council members as to what the percentage of contribution is for
I think
spouse and family.
your comment I appreciate, but I also know the time that we all have put in taking our consultants to task to get us the numbers that'll give us the lowest cost and provide the benefits to our employees. A lot of time has gone into this, and a lot of questions have been asked. I assure you of that. We're not sitting here saying, oh, thank you, Mike, here's the numbers, let's vote on it tonight.
No,
That's not the case.
and I appreciate that, but as a taxpayer who's been paying towards this,
And guess what? We all pay taxes too.
and I do understand that, okay? I'm here representing the public. You're the elected people, and I believe that I have the opportunity and the right to ask the questions and just
Earlier,
ask.
Councilman Pedrosa expressed his opinion representing the taxpayers in Bridgewater. You represent them, each of us represents all 47,000. We are also taxpayers just like you, and we do care what the costs are that, we're voting on. The numbers that we're seeing, I assure you that I cannot get one person on this dais to raise their hand and say they're happy with these numbers, because we're not. When we heard some of the numbers that our employees are paying, it was very disheartening. But that's the world we live in right now, and we do our best to get the best value for the dollar for every taxpayer in Bridgewater Township. That I assure you, and I'll write that in blood if I have to.
I
Thank
think
you
what you
very
will
much.
see, again, because this is public comment,
Right.
we will soon be going to the resolution portion of the agenda. You will see some commentary about the three benefits resolutions. And if you have any follow-up questions after that action is taken, certainly Mr. Pappas has expressed a willingness to work with you to provide additional detail.
Thank you very much. My next question has to do with the virtual ability. I know we're spending $100,000 plus to upgrade the communications and everything in this room. And as obvious tonight, Mr. Pappas is able to participate virtually. So I was wondering if there would be an opportunity in the future for this council to either look towards having the public participate virtually or a way to record it and have it readily available to the public to just observe at their leisure rather than having to request a copy of the audio, which is the current process. And you don't have to answer now, but just please put that in the back of your minds to consider moving forward as a way to make you more accessible to the public and the public able to see what's happening
I
here.
will simply state a range of options that are not available to us now will be available to us once we do those upgrades, and we will certainly consider the best way to keep our meetings as available and accessible and transparent as possible.
Thank you. And my last question, well, maybe two.
If I may, real quick, just since you raised the topic, I did have a conversation earlier today with Mr. Stevens. As we know, we did award the contract last year for the upgrades. The vendor has ordered all the equipment. We don't anticipate any supply chain issues, but always subject to some. At this point, they're thinking late February to begin installation. So.
Great. Two other quick things. One, the budget. I want to thank Philippe for asking if we can see the budget earlier in the year. I know personally, I'm working on my budget, which begins July 1, and it has to be approved no later than May 15th. So we always have our budgets in place before our fiscal year begins. I would hope to see a budget in place from the township earlier than midsummer. That's just a comment. And my last question has to do with, I know that we currently have a temporary congressional office here at the township. I know that there was a rally that took place. I know there was some police presence that was present at that from what I saw on social media. I was wondering how those costs for police presence either did or may in the future impact the township's budget, since I don't think that was put into the rental thing.
Now, let me defer to Mr. Pappas to answer that question.
Sure, thank you. conversation has taken place between the administration and the congressman's staff representatives. They are exploring ways in which any costs that we would have incurred would be reimbursed to the township. It's certainly not our intention to pay for any security that would be required. We think that they may have other options available to them, but we haven't, nothing has been finalized, but I can assure you the administration will not subsidize any security for our tenant.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the body, the governing body tonight?
Move to close public input.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? All right, thank you. So we are completed with the public portion. Number 11, we have no ordinances for final action. We also have no ordinances tonight for introduction, which brings us to our resolutions. So I'm going to begin with 13A, a revision authorizing the appointment of the Honorable Britt J. Simon, Esquire of New Jersey, alternate municipal court judge for the Township of Bridgewater. I guess Mike or Linda, do you have any commentary on what we're trying to accomplish here?
There was a phrase that was included in the original resolution that was not correct, and this simply deleted that phrase.
Okay.
I'll move 13A.
Is there a second? Okay, I have a move and a second. Can we have a roll call on 13A, please?
Councilman Padilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Ray?
Yes.
President Hurst?
Yes. At 13B, appointments to the Recreation Board of our residents Claudio Vesio and Lori Watson. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Thankful to them for volunteering their time and talent on behalf of the township.
Okay, a second?
I moved it.
Oh, all right.
I'll take a second.
Okay, we'll go the second that way. All right. And unless there's discussion needed, can we go to a roll call?
Councilman Padilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Ray?
Yes.
President Hurst?
Yes. 13C, authorizing payment of the Bridgewater, authorizing payment to the Bridgewater Raritan Board of Education for 2021-22 hazardous busing in the amount of $523,808 pursuant to the terms of the May 17th, 2021 hazardous busing agreement. What I'd like to do is have a motion, a second, and then discussion before we vote. So is there a motion? Okay, I have
Second.
a second. I'd like to have any conversation about this before we vote. Is there any conversation?
You know, this is, this is a obligation that the town was committed to based upon a 2020-2021 agreement. The agreement with the Board of Education, in some ways, I would relate to writing a blank check. In 2020-2021, we committed to providing funding for 2 years without knowing what that funding amount is. To Ms. Franco's comments earlier about managing a budget, imagine when all of a sudden you get a bill from 1 year to the next that is 114% increase, which is what the school board has increased from 2020, 2021 to 2021, 2022. The increase is a $278,000 increase at 114% increase. I know we've had a lot of discussion on this. I don't like it, but we are obligated to pay it. I think we need to pay it. And then if there's a desire for the township to voluntarily contribute in the future to hazardous busing, I think we need to sit down and have some dialogue with the school district around that, because I don't think we can continue to approve a blank check every 2 years.
And just for clarity, Council Vice President Ring, the wording of the resolution that we are about to consider pays this bill and this bill alone without any further obligation, and any additional payment, any additional agreement would be subject to a separate conversation.
Correct.
Okay.
It is my understanding, Mr. Corsini can chime in, but I believe Mr. Fisher from Mr. Corsini's office was quite comfortable that the 2020-2021 agreement covered 2 years' worth of payments, therefore we do not need an additional agreement. Just so the public's aware, this resolution is to approve a payment of $523,808. The school year prior, it was $245,220. It's a 114% increase from one year to the next.
Mr. President, if I
Go
may,
ahead.
at the last council meeting, I said in looking back over time, we've contributed voluntarily some over $4 million to the Board of Education in support of hazardous busing. The average was somewhere around $250,000 per year. Personally, I was absolutely appalled to see it more than doubled. I'm willing to vote in support of this. I will, in the words of Michael Kirsch, hold my nose and vote, but it will be a tough day when I would ever agree to any sort of relationship with the Board of Education voluntarily to undertake this function. I think it has been thoroughly scrubbed by the police department and by representatives of the administration who say that based on the construct that the Board of Education has been using, that the numbers are correct. I just don't like it, but I'm willing to pay the bill because I am told that we are legally obligated based on the wording of the contract from 2 years ago.
But the benefit is that by taking this action, there is no future obligation.
There is none.
Okay. And Councilman Pedroso, any comments?
Yes. As I shared with you on the telephone, I have asked you as Council President to relay this matter on the agenda because I took on the task directed by this council to look into this matter. As a result of that, I did meet with the administration. Mr. Scott Stevens had sent me over a voluminous amount of emails and documents, communications back and forth to the Board of Education administration. Just like to know that the administration did do an excellent job at following up and looking into this matter. However, I did take on the task of looking into it further. I did submit an email to Mr. Stars requesting additional information. I'm pleased to report that Mr. Stars did respond back today, and I did receive several other documents. I started going through them. I did respond back to Mr. Stars. There isn't a data that was missing that I still needed. And just to give you a sense, some initial facts from the data. Looking back, we skipped last year because last year was a COVID year, and not last year, look at 2020, we skipped 2020, 21 because that year the township got a credit back because the school was not in session 100% of the time. So if you look at 2019, 2020 versus the year in question, 2021, 22, the overall Board of Education cost of transportation or budgeted costs. Again, one of the questions I have for Mr. Stars is, are these numbers the budgeted numbers or are these numbers the actual numbers? Because I don't know for sure, but they're reflected as budgeted numbers. So the budgeted number was $4.4 million for transportation. 2 years later, shocking, the transportation number went up to $7.9 million. That's just an astronomical increase in cost. I'm not really sure, again, if that's just a budgeted number or an actual number. But that ratio, that increase ratio was 1.7 times, right? So you would think since the calculation of our hazardous busing is a direct proportion of the overall school's transportation expenses, you would expect that we would have a similar ratio increase because the number of students that were serviced by hazardous busing was 1,600 2 years prior, and it was 1,373 2 years prior, and the number actually dropped to 1,332. The overall mileage was very consistent, though. So what was interesting is that our hazardous bus bill went up by over 2 times in ratio. So in summation, the district's transportation budget increased by 1.7, but our hazardous busing bill increased by over 2 times. And so I'm still looking into this stuff. I'm still requesting information from the Board of Education. I don't see the emergency in paying it. I don't see why it can't be delayed. I would like to have more time to look into it. If you guys want to, just want to pay it, I will continue looking into it. I guess if you can pay it, and then if we find some discrepancy, we can request a refund or find some, inadvertent error. People make mistakes. I mean, it could have been an inadvertent error. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe there's something. Maybe these numbers are all correct. I don't know. But the bottom line is that I still see enough to continue to fully understand these numbers and why they are where they are. So my recommendation would be, common sense to me tells me if I get a bill in the mail and I find it as an issue, I'm going to call, whoever's asking me for the money and try to see what's going on and understand it before I pay it. That's common sense to me. So I think that's what we should do here. That's what I would ask the governing body to do. Taxpayer money.
All right, so just for completeness of the record, this was first presented to us back on December 6th, which was roughly 6 weeks ago. It was the will of the governing body at that time to tap the brakes, get more information. That same point of view was reinforced on December 19th, so that was roughly 4 weeks ago. And I believe Councilman Pedroso, you are in good faith trying to get this information. I appreciate that on behalf of all of our colleagues. I think the time has come to pay this bill. I think that if you uncover anything that is not accurate, appropriate, or needs to be revised, we can certainly open this subject again and pursue reimbursement. That's my point of view, but certainly we have a motion and a second. I guess before going to a vote, I would really kind of prefer to understand, is there an alternate will to potentially delay this, or is tonight the night we want to pay this bill?
For my comment, Michael, the intent of what we're speaking about this evening follows my comments in December. While we're questioning this bill, and I believe it should be questioned, I think we're obligated, my feeling is we're obligated to pay it. However, in moving forward, we should have discussion and confirm how we're going to act in the future.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Nogales?
I'm okay with, we've been told by our legal representative that this is a legitimate bill that is due. If we can find a flaw in the number later on, I'm sure we can get our money back. But at this point, I think I like to pay my bills when they're due.
Okay. Councilman Ring?
I would echo what Councilman Cardilla and Nogales said, and one step further. The administration and the police department took considerable time to review this. This bill, according to the agreement, was due back in July. The township delayed that while the administration looked at this bill and the numbers and the calculations, and we've been through it. And if something else is discovered down the road, we can certainly come back and talk about it further.
Okay, so let's go to a roll call, please.
Councilman Cardillo?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
No, I wouldn't pay it this time.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council President?
Yes. Moving on to letter D, acknowledging Township Council's review of salaries for the Board of Fire Commissioners of Fire District Number 1, Number 2, Number 3, and Number 4 for the year 2023.
Council President.
Council President, as much as I would really like to talk about this, I need to recuse myself, so please excuse me until this is complete.
All right, thank you. And you know, you can roll back a foot or two, or leave the dais, whatever your preference is.
I'll go hide in there.
Okay. All right, so with four remaining council members, can I have a motion on 13D?
I'll make that motion.
And is there a second?
What's the motion?
To approve 13D.
Why do we get involved in the part?
Because the New Jersey state says that we are required to review it.
In the legal financial notice attached to that, it goes into laborious detail.
So I'll second the motion. I think just for the purposes of, we went through this last year, and it's been very involved in this. I think it's very interesting that the state says that the governing body of the municipality has to approve. We have 4 fire districts that serve the township for the public's benefit. Every February, they go out to public vote on election of fire commissioners and to have their budget voted on by the residents of their fire district. The fire commissioners set their own salary that is funded through their taxpayer dollars that they collect. For whatever reason, the state of New Jersey under 48 1488 says that, it's actually, I guess that's not the correct one. It says that we have to review their salary. There's been a lot of discussion and back and forth of review and approve. I know our legal department has looked at this. Last year, we voted to review, and Mr. Corsini's office has confirmed that we are sufficient to do that again this year. They cannot go to vote in February on their budget unless we have reviewed their salaries ahead of time. The state provides us no guidelines on what should be done to review. We have 4 fire districts. Each district sets their own salaries. Each district is different from one another, completely outside of our control. We have no say. We're asked to review it.
But to your point, we are confident, I, speaking for myself, am confident that this resolution has been thoroughly reviewed by Mr. Corsini's office, and that it should pass muster for what the state requires in order to enable the fire district votes, which is coming up in a couple of weekends.
And the only thing I would add to this resolution, and I apologize I didn't catch this sooner, the resolution specifies names. I think we should be focusing on the titles because some of the people named in this resolution are up for re-election next month. And not only that, their role on the Board of Fire Commissioners may change. So, you know, you use District 1, there's a salary for a chairman, a clerk, a treasurer. You know, the people that fill those roles most likely can change next month. So we should be focusing on the titles, not the person.
So do we want to acknowledge the names shown are the incumbents?
Yes.
Okay.
As of today.
Okay.
Mr. Corsini, could we just cross off the names in the resolution?
Sure, if that's what you want, you can amend it.
From my perspective, this is what it is. I mean, we've got, these are the incumbents, those are the people, that's their title and that's their salary. They voted to place that salary number there.
But they voted to place the salary for their 2023 budget. They can't vote on how much an individual is making because they don't know yet who will serve on the 2023 board.
Oh, I understand, but what's the problem here? The fact of the matter is, you know, these are the people who are the incumbents at this point. They may be different, and
so we just need to acknowledge that.
But our obligation, evidently, even though I don't agree to it, we have no supervisory authority over the fire commission. We happen to collect the taxes for them, but if there's an issue, it needs to be resolved by the fire.
All right, so do we want to entertain a motion to acknowledge that all names listed are the current incumbent? Does that satisfy the concern?
Why don't we just revise the motion to review these, to review it with acknowledgement that names are current incumbents? Okay,
so no change, but for the record, these are the incumbents?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that. All right, I believe we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? All right, let's go to a roll call, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yeah, I'm going to decide, I'm going to abstain on this, and the reason why I'm going to abstain is that two reasons. Primarily, number one, I disagree with our state law that we should be involved in this at all. I don't see why I have to pass judgment on these people's salaries, which kind of goes to my second reason, which is I really have no idea if they deserve these salaries or not. I don't know what they do, what their tasks are going to be. I guess they go to some meetings and they make some decisions regarding the fire department, but I don't really know, I don't know enough to pass judgment on these salary numbers. So, I think this law is just stupid. How can we have any say in this? I mean, they have their own tax system, they collect their own taxes, they're elected officials, the public, if they don't like how much they're making, they can vote them out. I don't know.
But as Councilman Ring said, without our review process, they can't entertain a budget in February to operate for this year.
Well, looks like you guys have the votes anyway, so it doesn't matter.
And just to clarify, we are reviewing, we are not approving their salaries.
Absolutely.
As much as, I agree to a certain point with Councilman Pedrosa, but we need to do this for the purposes of fire protection throughout our township, so yes.
President Kirsch?
Well, based on the title of this, which is Acknowledging Township Council's Review of Salaries, we have reviewed these salaries, and I want to enable the vote in a couple of weekends so that we can have continued fire service, so I vote yes. All right, if we could bring Mr. Cardillo back. Okay, what I would like to do is entertain a conversation about E, F, and M together because they are related. So let me read the titles.
Councilman Kirsch, I'm sorry to interrupt. Mike Pappas is no longer on the line. He's having some technical difficulties. Looks like he's logging in right now. So.
All right, then what I would prefer, is he back with us? Can he hear us?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat for Mike's benefit. I would like to entertain E, F, and M together because they are related. So what I'd like to do is read the titles, and then Mike, have you provide overall commentary, and then we can handle each one. So 13E authorizes Delta Dental of New Jersey Incorporated to provide dental and vision insurance to the Township of Bridgewater. Total annual premium $326,200 for the year 2023. Letter F, authorizing Benecard Services LLC of New Jersey Incorporated to provide prescription insurance to the Township of Bridgewater. Total annual premium $1,950,600 for the year 2023. And at letter M, authorizing State Health Benefits Program of New Jersey to provide health insurance to the Township of Bridgewater for a total annual premium $5,814,000 for the year 2023. Obviously, this is one of our largest line items, possibly our second largest after salary. So Mike, if you could provide commentary either collectively or individually at E, F, and M.
Thank you. Can you folks hear me? I'm sorry about the technical difficulty that I had. Glad to rejoin you. The resolutions are corrected from those that had been submitted a few days ago. There had been mistake where retirees had not been included in the totals, and that has been corrected. The numbers that you see are the totals really are what had been estimated by our risk manager, Round Hill, several months ago. It is a large item, as Council President, you said. It is municipalities as well as the private sector are seeing increases in health benefit costs. And this is an example of where it has affected us here. We continue to, as you had said, continue to explore options, and we're continuing to do that now to try to see a more cost-effective measure presented to the governing body for the future.
So Mike, if I can ask you a question, is it fair to say that this is not just a one-time annual conversation, but is rather an ongoing discussion internally, a dialogue with Round Hill, as well as consideration of any reasonable alternative that we may be able to have so that we can provide comprehensive benefits at as cost-effective a price point as possible.
Yes, I can assure you that on a regular basis, we are in internal conversations and with Round Hill and others, exploring every option that's available, trying to incrementally address through the prescription plan that has been approved, Benecard. There is a slight reduction in that cost, but again, the overall costs have increased. The state health benefits plan has seen over a 20% increase. Municipalities all over New Jersey are experiencing this, and we certainly want to try to minimize any future cost increases.
And Mike, on the subject of the state health benefits plan, because that's obviously the largest line item of the three, is it accurate to say that municipalities have been put in a particularly challenging spot because, if I'm not mistaken, the state has essentially cushioned its own blow from such a large increase, but that same action did not occur for the municipalities?
Yeah, I believe that's the case, and there are conversations that I've had with folks in the legislature that this is the beginning of several increases that are not sustainable, and certain steps have to be made. We are fortunate in that we have been tracking pretty well about our claims, and that we think that if that continues, that will put us in a very good position to pursue options in the private market again.
All right, a final question, Mike, at least from me, is are you satisfied that these three solutions are the most cost-effective that are available to us at this time to provide the comprehensive benefits that we want to offer to our employees and retirees?
Yes, sir. We've had extensive conversations with our consultants and explored, like I said, numerous options, and this is the best scenario that we can present.
Okay. At a broad level, gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Pappas?
I move E, F, and M.
Okay. I think you might want to do those as separate votes.
I'm good with consent.
All right, you want to put those
I'll
on
second the consent.
one block vote? All right. So we have a motion on E, F, and M together from Councilman Norgalis. Is there a second?
I second it.
There's a second.
A brief comment. I know Ms. Franco made some comments earlier during public comment, and just want to reiterate that last year, prior to last year, we were with a private service. We did an extensive review last year that led to us transitioning to the state health benefits program. There was some pain involved in that process. We've looked at that. There's also the state health benefits program. Unfortunately, it's had some considerable increases this year. Again, as Mr. Pappas said, a lot of research done and continues to be done, and it's an ongoing work in progress, but as we continue to work, we also still have to provide the benefits to our employees.
Any other discussion before we go to a vote?
I just want to say that I'm going to support this. I think that health insurance prices are just nuts, they're outrageous. And we do the best we can to provide the best value to our resident taxpayer, and our employees are deserving of their health benefits and their medical benefits. They work hard for our township, they work hard for our residents, they deserve these benefits, and we do the best we can to balance that, find the best cost, the best deal for our taxpayer. And we've done that. It's the best we could do. I don't like the numbers, but it's the best we could do, so I'll support it.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, if we could have a vote on the collective E, F, and M, please.
Councilman Trujillo?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Joseph?
Yes.
Councilman Reed?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes. Letter G, authorizing execution of an agreement with the soccer centers located at 300 Memorial Drive, Somerset, New Jersey, and Township Recreation Department for spring and fall travel in town, junior, PSA, high school, adult, summer, and field hockey programs. Soccer centers will provide the use of turf fields, referees, and trainers at a cost not to exceed $144,500. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
By the way, the title was amended to include the fact that all these costs will be covered through the soccer trust, which is funded by user fees. So there is absolutely no operational cost to Bridgewater for this amount.
Thank you for that clarification. Can we have a vote, please?
Councilman Trudilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa? Yes. Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Hirsch?
Yes. Letter H, authorizing agreement between the Township of Bridgewater and Epic Polymers Incorporated to replace a 54-inch sewer line in Duke Island Park at no cost to the township. Can I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second it.
Is any discussion
I
required?
think, just for the public's benefit, this is a project that is not originating in the township. This is an effort by the state and some others to remove a head dam in Duke Island Park. In conjunction with that, there's a sewer pipe that has to be moved. As part of their agreement with the state, Epic Polymers is doing that. While the heading says at no cost to the township, just to reiterate, truly no cost to the township in the fact that Epic will write a check to the township for $45,000 to cover our legal and engineering costs associated with overseeing the moving of our sewer pipe. So this is we're benefiting from a new pipe being installed across the Raritan River or under the Raritan River by other efforts going on at the state level. So,
Okay, thank you for that additional detail, and by taking action tonight, we will be authorizing Mayor Mensch and our clerk to enter into the memorandum of agreement. So I believe we have a motion, a second. Can we have a vote, please?
Councilman Trudilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa? Yes. Councilman Ring?
yes.
President Hirsch?
Yes. Letter H, authorizing agreement between the Township of Bridgewater, oh, I'm sorry, we just did H. I, authorizing change of scope to the professional service contract, increasing the contract price by the sum $14,102 for additional professional engineering and construction inspection services for the Old Farm Road Service Area Expansion, 2019 Sanitary Sewer Extension and Roadway Restoration Project with Reynolds Group Incorporated, located 575 Route 28, Suite 110 in Raritan, New Jersey, 08869, from the contract price of $144,600 to $158,702.50, funded through the 2017 sewer capital. Mr. Pappas, can you provide us some commentary here?
Yes, this was pulled at a previous meeting, and I offer the following explanation. I mentioned that one of the utility companies, PSE&G, was involved in installing a gas main that impacted the progress of our project. Well, that was true, but in getting further explanation from Mr. Burr regarding this project, that was a portion of the overall need for redesign. This project, as probably most on the council know, has been a legacy project, one that predates this administration. The engineering firm, because of unanticipated locations of various utility lines and the installation or design and installation of services for the individual homes in this part of town on this road, required additional design engineering. I did ask Mr. Burr if there was a portion of this that is legitimately attributable to PSE&G, and he said that he did. It was probably in the order of $2,500, which I asked him to pursue reimbursement of the township for that, and hopefully we'll be successful in obtaining that from them.
Mr. Pappas, since we're discussing Old Farm Road, there continues to be a pile of gravel in the roadway with 2 safety cones, and when the safety cones get moved, somebody's going to run into that. Is there any way we can get rid of that?
I'll have it checked out.
There's also a piece of equipment that's been sitting a little farther down the street for about 3 months.
Okay.
With sewer connections from the houses, the one contractor did at least 8, if not 10 of the houses, but I let them know that pile of stone has to be gone.
Yeah, especially now that we're into snowplow season.
Yes,
We,
agreed.
okay,
He's been told that it's going to be moved.
okay, thank you.
Okay, any additional questions at letter I? Okay, I'm sorry, did we already?
Yeah,
move?
we need a motion.
We need a motion, please?
I'll make,
I'll make
second,
it.
second.
Okay, motion, a second to my right. If we could have a roll call, please.
Councilman Trudilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes,
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Lee?
Yes.
President Hirsch?
Yes. At letter J, authorizing reduction in the performance guarantee from $119,208 to $67,548.78 for the Foothill Estates subdivision application posted by La Rosa Brothers Construction LLC. That is block 718 lots 160, 161, and 164, which are now designated 160.01, 160.02, 160.03, and 160.04 on Whitnax Road. Mr. Pappas, any quick commentary?
It's pretty straightforward. This is a release of the reduction of the performance guarantee. This would be the last reduction prior to the project being formally concluded and then closed out.
Okay.
I'll move 13I.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Trudilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes,
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Lee?
Yes.
President Hirsch?
Yes. Letter K, person-to-person plenary retail consumption liquor license from transferor Houlihan's Bridgewater LLC, license number 1806-33-014-008, formerly located at 1288 Route 22 East in Bridgewater, New Jersey, held in pocket status since September 29, 2022, to the transferee Mega Land Holdings LLC, which will operate with the new license number 1806-33-014-009. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
second.
Second, any discussion needed?
It's remaining in pocket. It's not going into use at this point in time. They're looking for a tenant to take over.
Okay. All right, a roll call, please.
Councilman Trudilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes,
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Lee?
Yes.
President Hirsch?
Yes. And our final resolution tonight, letter L, waiver of fire permit fee in the amount of $300 for St. Bernard of Clairvoy Parish, 500 Route 22, Bridgewater, in connection with hosting the homeless families at the church on the following dates: February 5th through 12th, May 7th through 14th, August 6th through 13th, October 22nd through 29th, and December 3rd through 10th, 2023.
move 13L.
Second.
Any conversation, discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Trudilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes,
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Lee?
Yes.
President Hirsch?
Yes, all right, we've already handled letter M. So we are now going to move to our closed session, particularly if I have the resolution, which I have. So this is our closed session for today, January 19th, 2023. Be it resolved by the Bridgewater Township Council that this body will now hold a closed meeting to discuss contract negotiations in two areas, Vones Lane and EMS. When and if the matters discussed become public record, this will be made known to the public at that time. The public is excluded from said meeting, and further notice thereof is dispensed with, all in accordance with sections 8 and 4A of the Open Public Meetings Act. And for clarification, we do not expect to take any action after this closed session. That's correct? Okay, so we're going to consider this resolution, go into closed session. We will only go back into open session for the purpose of adjourning the meeting. So can I get a motion
motion to go to closed session.
I'll second it.
Okay, and if we could get a roll call on that, please.
Councilman Trudilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa? Councilman Lee?
Yes.
President Hirsch?
Yes. Okay, thank you.